Hey guys, hope you're having a great morning. My name's Kelsey, and I'm here to talk a little bit about myself as well as you. Okay, just want to go ahead and put it out there. I've already made you guys like 4 videos, and something went wrong with my editing system and deleted all of them, and I could not recover them. So here I am trying to spit it out again, and I have to start all the way over. So, um, if you're watching my video, then you've probably like already Googled something about ascension symptoms or heard the term spiritual awakening or something in that manner. Like something has happened to you where your mind has grown just a little bit or a lot, and you're waking up basically. And for me, when I was waking up, I didn't know I was waking up, and I've had multiple wake ups, multiple awakenings, as well as a Kundalini awakening that activated on its own. But what I'm getting to is, I wish that someone would have told me, or someone would have educated me, or I would have known a little more about what was going on, and I wouldn't have made so much of a fool of myself, thinking I'm sick and stuff, which we'll get to that later. Looking like a hypochondriac. Some people even look like they had a psychotic break. Some people check themselves into like the mental institution because they can't handle it. Like, it's one of those things like physically you're fine, but spiritually like you're not. Which it's a beautiful thing. But anyway, before I get started, I also want to say, you don't have to watch my face the whole time. Like, if you've got something to do, I'm a rambler, and if you've got something to do, put the phone down, wash your dishes, do your hair, do your makeup, paint your toes, like whatever. Just do something, stretch, do yoga. Like, you don't have to look at me all the time. I found it very inspirational for me, like, or very uplifting for me to talk to other women or listen to other women who are super inspirational, and they would get me pumped up while I was doing things. Now, I'm like not like a super get pumped up kind of person, but I do have some pretty interesting things to say. Okay, so starting off, if you've had a spiritual awakening or, some type of ascension symptoms, then you already have Googled everything that you could possibly Google, and you have come to terms with either you're a spiritual being or like you are still blocking it out. It just depends on you and your life path, purpose, and everything. Me, to tell you a little bit about myself real fast, is I was born in part of my family is spiritual in their own way. I wasn't born in a super spiritual family, but it was there. I was raised with animals on a farm. Like, I had the best childhood. I really can't complain about my childhood. Like, I had the best childhood ever. I was a pretty, like, I had a normal life. Like, I had a good life growing up. But everyone called me a little adult. I hardly remember being jealous. Like, I remember even wondering why other people around me were mean and jealous, like other girls. Not saying I wasn't tough, just saying in general, like, I was very, like, just laid back. And other adults in my family has told me that, oh, you're like a mini adult, I'm also the oldest and the first grandchild or first, whatever. Growing up, I was always a bit different. People, made it known that I was a bit different. I even sensed that I was a bit different, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm different, like, oh, pity me or something. I'm sorry, my eyelashes are messed up this morning. I just didn't. I just caked it on there, and it just looks like horrible, and I need an eyelash curler. Anyway, well, let me see. And I told you, my first video was already so much better than this one. I had a normal childhood, basically, and I wasn't introduced to, like, evil things or scary movies and stuff. Like, my mom didn't like that. Granted, I read a lot of R.L. Stein books, and That's So Weird was like the most awesome show. If anybody knows what that show is, like, please like put like a thumbs up or something, or be like, oh my god, because nobody knows what that show is, and that was like the best show when I was younger. It had to do with like aliens and stuff, you know, all that crazy fictional thing, non-fictional, all this crazy science fiction things when you're a kid. Anyway, I am a number 9 in numerology, which speaks about most people, or if you're a 9 and you believe in reincarnation, then you're an old soul. And not saying that you can be any number and be an old soul, because you know you've lived so many lives depending on your purpose and what soul you are, or who you are. But for me, people, like, I already felt that way. Like, growing up, I was called a mini adult. I was a very easygoing kid. I was not a sore loser. Playing t-ball, I'd be out there picking flowers. If I missed the ball, if I hit it, I hit it. Like, I didn't throw a fit or cry about it, and, you know, just really going with the flow. And, of course, I was a kid, but I'm just saying, like, I had some old tendencies. And even when I got older, like, by the time I was, like, 15 or 16, I was, like, grown up. I mean, we think we were grown up back then, but I know I was, like, a little grown up. Because everyone, like, I just was, like, you know, not drinking and driving and stuff. Like, I mean, I might have did it every once in a while, but not, like, stupid about anything. Like, I never got in, like, a lot of big trouble because I did something stupid. Very level-headed. I mean, I'm bragging about myself, whatever. I noticed that about myself. I'm also a Libra. So in number 9, by the way, they're also everywhere. And 9s get pulled in all different directions because they're the highest vibrational number before it goes back to 10, which would actually be 1, or 11, which would be 2. And that's the numerology. But I just was, I'm a 9, so I'm like always been everywhere. Everyone's always needed me. I've been a wise old soul in a way, like very scatterbrained. But also being a Libra, I'm also trying to be balanced, and I'm a people pleaser too. Want to please people. I'm also an empath by blood and by spirituality, by genetics, by spirituality. And I didn't find that out till about 2 years ago. So that probably had to do with it. But for me, I feel like I'm a very creative mix, which has me in all different directions. So when you're listening to me, you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me. Like, you're going to be like, oh my god, this girl's so crazy. Or you're going to be like, I cannot keep up with her, you know. And that's fine, because that's how it's been all my life. But what I'm getting to is, I was born already kind of spiritual, not realizing it. And I already had, like, a couple of spiritual traits, not realizing it. Ever since I was small, like, reincarnation had been, like, something that he came up. Not, like, my family, now, granted, I didn't grow up in a family that talked about this stuff. They weren't like, oh, she was reincarnated. It wasn't anything like that, but it has been brought up since I was little that I was probably an old soul. As a child, depending on what you believe in or how you can perceive it, you know, for me, for instance, we are souls and we are up there, you know, in that soul plane. And we have lessons, and we come down here to fulfill a lesson. And if we don't get it right the first life, we come back. And it's not always us. It's also someone around us that, like, might have steered off their life path purpose and did something they weren't supposed to, and it screwed up your life path purpose, like what you got going on. So with the reincarnation too, There's a lot of gray areas with that. People was like, oh, you know, like what's the purpose of the mission? Why would we even do that? Okay, well, we can step back for a second and look at like God and evil, like good and evil, God and like the devil, however you look at it, positive and negative. You know, there's a balance, but if you want to look on a perspective of like our earth, in the past, like 1300s, 1400s, Roman times, like, you know, like BC, and then up here, like 14, 15, 16, 1700s, people really tortured people. Like, they really gutted people and impaled them and ripped their breast off and cut their tongue out, you know, like, they were pretty inhumane. And if you want to look at it in a perspective that, go back then, those were amateur souls, okay? That was like the mind of a toddler soul, and they didn't know what they were doing. You start moving more to our time and age, or our day and age, everyone's waking up. Like, seriously, people are waking up and becoming aware of things, right? It's because of the soul growth. Now, like you're getting to what's the mission? Well, from what I can understand, we don't know the whole mission, and we probably won't. But we as humans are killing our earth. We're killing our people. We're killing ourselves. And we might be less inhumane, even though there are still dark things that go on around us. We are essentially killing ourselves. And if we do not shift to a higher state of consciousness, like a higher vibration, shift into unconditional love, light, compassion, empathy, you know, just really peaceful, just like light. You know, they use all these big words like crystalline, something, something, and, you know, we're beings of light, and however you want to put it, okay? We are shifting into that, because if we don't, whatever the reason for keeping humans alive and the spirit coming back, your soul coming back, because there probably is a way bigger reason than we can even, like, imagine, you know, we'll die off, basically. We put chemicals into our ground to kill weeds that go into our water system, and they're not biodegradable. They stay there. You drink that chemical, it goes into your body. We are, even though we're all guilty of it, we're eating foods that are like genetically modified, which, you know, that's bad. It's not that bad, but we have a plastic ocean, and our fish are dying off, and our birds are dying off, and our butterflies are getting scarce, and our bees. I mean, like, how much more is it going to take for you guys to, like, realize, like, maybe we should steer in a different direction, because we easily could. But people are so greedy and just so shut off from the bigger perspective. They just live their life day by day, going through the motions of being fueled by money, sex, whatever else. And we're all guilty. I mean, because we do live in this, like, this 3D dimension, this 3D life. You do have, if you want to be able to succeed in anything in life, you gotta, like, start somewhere. So I'm not saying that, you know, you just don't sit around on your ass, but people are, like, missing the picture. And a lot of us are waking up now, but if you go back and you look hundreds of years back, how there were spiritual people. Now, different cultures, there were spiritual people. There really was. And they were more connected than we are now, the ancients. But if you look, too, at, like, how evil people were, and how the whole, like, their lives were just controlled by pain, suffering, money, greed, and sex, and partying. And it sounds pretty much like what's going on today, but way worse back then. There was a point in time, like, so for us, spiritual people, we kind of stand out a little bit, not as much, but we kind of do. And if you go back and you look at like people like who brought in like asceticism, like esoteric, mysticism, alchemy, philosophy, and then even astrology, those people were highly advanced souls. Like, they come to this planet to give us the hidden tools that we need, the secret, sacred knowledge, so we could use them when it was time to use them. Basically, when you start blossoming into your true, authentic self, shedding the fake. And those people, they really stuck out like sore thumbs, and they were bashed for, who they were. And I mean, that even goes back to like the Salem witch trials. Not all those women were witches. Some of them were normal women. If they had like skin tags, or a mole that hung off, or anything like a witch's mark, they would kill them. And some of these women, like, they were just spiritual beings. Like, they were good-hearted, highly spiritual beings that got tortured or burned alive or drowned. Like, if you really want to look at it, like, that's kind of like the battle of good and evil on Earth. It's been going on since day one. And y'all all know that with the war, or just different cultures, different races. It's never ending. And it's coming a time now that more and more of us, souls that have lived multiple lives, or I don't like to put labels on things, but I kind of have to, because you'll better understand. Some things have to have a label for you to know what I'm talking about. But like they say, like the star seed children, that's been coming here since around the 60s or 70s. What was the other one? We had the star seeds and something else. I can't remember. Indigo children. I can't want to say rebel children, because they are very rebellious, and I was rebellious. I probably was one. Well, because they are like empaths, or they're just highly intuitive. You can have all those traits, by the way. I mean, you can have them all. It just depends on your purpose, who you are, your genetics, your spiritual purpose, what kind of gifts you inherit more. So, anyway, they said those kids started coming here in the 60s, and like, those were highly advanced souls. And now here we are, some of us, really mature, and some of us like 20, some of us in our 10s, 20s, 30s, all the way up to like 80, I guess, really ascending. So basically what I was getting to is with the old soul thing, it's come up around me multiple times, and I've had time to like really think about it, because it's been a factor that just bubbles up in my life over and over again. So, like I said, with the whole like being called an old soul, this and that, I woke up a lot faster than I think your average person would. For instance, when you wake, like, something happens, right? So you like have a traumatic event, or like a traumatic experience, or it can be like you got in a car accident and it scared the shit out of you because you almost died, or like your boyfriend cheated on you and you like had no idea, and it completely broke your heart because you're so in love with them, or like your mother passed away, or just, and it can even be the smallest things, but they trigger. And what they trigger is, they might trigger what's happened in the past, or made you evaluate yourself, or it could even trigger things from past lives that you don't even realize, That is really, really good. Yeah, like my first 3 or 4 videos, I was on a roll, and I'm kind of tired too, because I was like working all night in the house. But if I start getting on a roll and I start going, start jumping around places, that's because the messages start popping through in my head. I have to sort them out, and I want to get it all out. Like, too many of them come in at once. So, get ready. Depends on my mood. I might be real chill, or it might just start spitting out. We'll see how well I channel them. Anyway, with the old soul thing, what was I saying? I also lose my train of thought a lot, and then I have to like jump back. That's why I said you're gonna love me or hate me. I said it was a thing that just kept popping up in my life. Oh, spiritual awakening. And I'll get back to that. Like, I have a lot more to do with it, but I'm kind of more going into the spiritual awakening thing to start off with, since my whole life purpose, I don't know my whole life purpose, but this revolves around my life. Like, this consumes me. I'm consumed by the knowledge. I'm consumed by spirituality. I'm consumed by the magic, because it is truly magical. It's like the most exciting thing that's ever going to happen to you in your life, maybe besides like getting a really nice materialistic old home and like a hot husband and, you know, having all that. But spirituality is something that, you know, you can't trade that. Like, you inherit it, or it comes to you. So anyway, by the way, I'm just a normal person, okay? Let me go ahead and say this too, because I keep forgetting. I made so many videos, and I keep forgetting that I'm starting back from number 1. So, I am just a person, okay? You have to be a little conceited to embrace yourself. Growing up, people always, okay, so I told you I was a Libra and a 9. Also an empath. I could blend in, but I was different, and people noticed it. Everybody liked me. I had a whole bunch of friends. I had friends from different, like, each group. I could relate to people from each group, and when some people couldn't, you know, I was just like a likable person, and some people did not like me for that, even though I hadn't done anything. And I'm not saying pity party me. I'm just saying I know you can relate if you're some type of spiritual being, okay? You were kind of the outcast. A lot of you guys were outcast, or y'all were called weird or anything, and I was too, but I was able to blend in because I'm kind of a diva. I'm a Libra. I'm a Scorpio rising. I'm born a Libra, and I'm a Libra sun, and I'm also Sagittarius in my 2nd house. So very like just like fancy, or not fancy, but just like authentic. I just like old, nice things. I like authentic things. Like this chair behind me, you know, I like old things. And not, and all, everything in the corner's gotta be filled. Like, I gotta have my, like, my green plants and my crystals, you know, just a little too materialistic. But we all have different traits, and depending on how you're raised and like your astrological chart, your natal chart, you know, we're all different. But what I'm getting to is I was able to blend in, and I still could see that I was a tad bit different, but I wasn't aware. Like, I wasn't completely aware of what, like, of really any of that. Sorry, I just heard something. And I have no degrees. I would love to take classes on spirituality and religion, philosophy, psychology, parapsychology, occult science, and occult arts. And before any of you guys go thumping on my page, okay, occult was took and used for people who, you know, practice Satanism. Yay for them. But that word has been around since before that. That just means numerology, astrology, like tarot, the mystics of it, the magic of it, okay? Like, not the devil's work, the magic. Alright, so, anyway, I don't have any of these degrees, but when I woke up, I got hit hard, and I became a human sponge, and I'll get to that. So, I don't know everything, but I'm a very intellectual person. I weigh everything out. I check every corner, and this is my passion. Like, my passion is to get this out. I'm blogging. I'm writing a book, but it does not move as fast as my mouth does. So I'm, you know, here shining bright, which is something that has took me a while to get here because of waking up, because of my experiences, because of what I went through. I shut down a little bit, not realizing it. I used to not be this socially awkward, but I am becoming my true self at the same time. So, whatever. So you take what resonates that's coming out of my mouth. If you like the button and subscribe or comment, it would not surprise me if I caught some of your energy and you just decided to watch one of my videos, or if you subscribe, see that I uploaded one, and I'll be talking about something that was on your mind, because that's synchronization. It happens to me all the time, whether I do it to someone or someone does it to me, and that just means you're aligned with your purpose. You're where you're supposed to be, and the messages will keep coming, to make sure that you're going the right direction, as well as, depending on how intuitive you are or how attentive you are or with your guides. If you believe in that sort of thing, I am a theoretical person. My mind's really open to a lot of things. I can be opinionative and stubborn about some things if it really resonates with my soul, if it's soul knowing. But I told you I don't have all the answers. Look, my mind, I'm not going to say my mind changes every day, but what I'm saying is we grow. And I learn something new every day. Somehow I learn something new every day. All of us do. And this is this is me. This is me. My spirituality, it's not suffocating, but it's who I've grown into. And my mind doesn't go, my mind goes in all directions, but this is where my mind goes a lot of the time because of my calling. So I might gather some information, and an epiphany or a theory that I had clicks together, and my theory might be even bigger or better. So I'm open-minded. I'm not just stuck on that. I'm telling you what I know. I might miss some things. You might know some things I don't know, and I might know some things you don't know, or I might say something that you'll be like, damn, that makes sense, that clicks in your brain. My purpose as a 9 is to learn how to let go and surrender. I'm tying up loose ends, so it's all about karmic ties, whether it's good or bad, because karma's not always bad, you guys. So many people get that wrong. And I have a mission, and the way my natal chart's set up, I told you I'm the oldest. I told you my old soul. I told you that my family said I was a little adult, and then it even said in my natal chart, if this don't put pressure on people, on you, if you were in my shoes, I don't know what does. It says that my ancestors are I have a lot to look up to, or they are all around me, they're expecting me to do what I need to do, because this is supposed to be around my last journey. Now, if you're a 9, it doesn't necessarily have to be your last journey. You could still be a 1 and it'd be your last journey, because it doesn't matter. You could live 10 times and be a 1. It just depending on where you're born, and depending on your name and the letters in it and this and that. Nothing's a coincidence, as goofy as it sounds. I'm telling you, I do not believe in coincidences anymore. Alright? That shit is out the door. I'll say coincidence, just because, was that a coincidence? Make a joke out of it, but no, it isn't. And that also that is killing me. That also has to do with manifestation, too. If you're not super spiritual, you can look at it in a scientific view. Any of it. Because of energy. Okay? And I'll get back to that too. And I lost my train of thought again somewhere along those lines. I was saying me, as who I am. My sole purpose is, I find myself lecturing people all the time. And I know it sounds like I'm a Miss Know-It-All. But the thing with the 9 is they kind of do give good advice. No, I'm sorry. I give good advice. I have met some immature nuns in my life. I had never met a nun. And I had told someone I'd never met a nun. And then I was like, I'm like the only nun I ever met. And then we did some research, and then like a couple of people around me that like were nuns, and it just like, I'm not gonna say we don't get along, but we're like on totally different levels. So your astrological chart, you know, like, and where your planets are, and you know the way you're raised, and I mean it just all has to do with that. All, you know, has to do with who you are, obviously. So anyway, my purpose is, well, my purpose isn't to get it all out, but I told you I was blogging and writing, and it's like I have to get it out. I have been preaching to people around me for like years, like the last two or 3 years. Even before I was super spiritual, I was channeling and didn't know I was channeling, because people would come to me about a problem, and I would listen, and then I had a solution. I mean, like, I had a solution, and you know, and I just was like logical about it. I put my head and my heart together, and if you put your head and your heart together and you think with those together, you're a manifester in a way. Which I wasn't manifesting anything for them, but I'm just saying, like, you see the effects of it, what you want, and it's going to work out. Like, I was just always positive. Like, it was going to work out. This is going to work out. We're going to do this. He might do this, but that's okay, because if we do this, and, you know, hard times come and go, girl. Like, always been, and don't think that I haven't been down, though, because Lord knows, as a Libra, getting her heart broke, or just losing that boyfriend, you know, being in high school, whatever. Anyway, being the way that I am, even on an empath side too, as an empath, and as my purpose, I told my uncle one time, basically, I said, you know, we come from the same spiritual side of the family, and we hadn't got to hang out much, but I knew, because I've always had a sense of knowing with things, I just knew he was a lot like me, and I just couldn't wait to, you know, I'd finally grown up, and I couldn't wait to hang out, and we started talking, and man, did we start talking. And I told him, I said, I am like Pandora's box. Like, I'm the keeper of secrets. Like, everybody feels the need to come to me and tell me about their problems, and I solve them, you know. And he said, that's because you're an empath. Did not know. What's that, you know. And he starts telling me, but of course we're like out like in a bar, and it's like too loud. But that one word he gave me opened a door. A door to knowledge. Like, boom. And I'll tell you the story around that, because there's a lot of wild things that's happened to me in my life, that, you know, people say, oh, like the craziest things happen to you, or, you know, even things like supernatural. No, they do, and there's a reason for that. Just even not even being an intuitive or an empath or a psychic, my natal chart, where Uranus is and Neptune is in my third house. I will get back to that too. So I'm saying, like, if you're really into wanting to find out who you are and you're spiritually waking up, I'm kind of giving you the tools that you need to start digging. Like I'm telling you right now. Numerology, find out what your numerical number is and read it, and then find out about the people around you too, so you can figure them out, because you can really start understanding people better if you know someone and you don't know why they act the way they act. That will help you kind of decipher them, depending on how woke you are. And then also, well, you also have to look on a psychological level too, like a narcissist. That's like a dark empath, because narcissists are very manipulative and they can feel people out. They just know things, but they're horrible people. Well, they're dark empaths. They're like us, light empaths, or, you know, if you are one, but there's no conscience. They have no conscience. And that's their purpose too. And another thing is, people are like, why would any soul, you know, choose to get murdered or choose to be a horrible person? Okay, well, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but we're human. We're human and we know how it feels and this and that. So us in our sane mind wouldn't do it. But these are infinite beings. This is an infinite, this is stuff like beyond our mind. We have no clue. And it's for growth. So they come here as shitbags and they do shitbag things. And their job is to be that way because it wakes us up and it makes us aware of the shitbag. That way we propel forward, and next time we bump into a shitbag, we won't be so naive. And excuse my language. But so they still have a mission too. They could have been a good person the whole time, and like, you know, they might even fulfilled their mission, and they were like, you know, we need an extra shitbag down there, you know, house number 5, well, you know, whatever, however you perceive it. Even though that sounds crazy, if you could just really keep up with me, because it's really not that crazy. It's insane. How can you not think that there is like, how can you not think that we're the only intelligence, you know? And how can you, like, anything, like, not everything's got to have organs and stuff like us. Like, there's magic. Look at jellyfish, you know? They work without brains and, like, maybe, like, no organ or something, and they eat and digest because of acid. Eat and digest like crustaceans. I don't know. I'm just saying that we don't know everything, okay? So keep your mind open. Really keep it open. So anyway, with being an empath, blah, 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 I always drew people to me. And, you know, I, like, just recently, a couple months ago, I had went to a gathering. And I don't go out much, but I went to a gathering. And, I maybe only been there like 15, 20 minutes, and someone has already drawn themselves to me, got me in the corner, telling me their whole life story, you know, really just putting it on the table, and I'm going with it, you know, like, yeah, you know, yep, you know, well, yep, that happens, and just, like, I'm not going to explain this person's story, but, because it's their business, but, I think even sometimes these people are like, why did I even, like, tell them that, like, you know, later on, which is okay, but I'm saying, like, it's a natural healing ability. You draw people to you, for better or for worse. You draw people to you, and that part of my gift was healing people in a manner without, like, realizing it. And I actually wrote that. That's in one of my blogs about how, like, I was attracting. I always wondered why these things happened to me, where I had, like, people, okay, for instance, friends would come to me, or I had friends of all kinds, and I had some people that I was really close to, and some people that I thought I was close to, and they needed, like, closure on something, and they don't even know why, but they would attract themselves to me and come to me about their issue, and we'd talk about it, you know, and I'd give them the advice, and I'd work the issue out. And it was such a deep bond for me, only to find out once they felt better, you know, they were off doing their thing in their life again, and they already had friends, and I just, what, you know, like, that we were still cool, like, they'd be like, hey, but, hey, what's up, you know, but there was no more time for me. Like, I had done what I needed to do. They didn't realize it, like, it was all subconscious, but for me, that was part of one of my spiritual gifts, spiritual mission, even with, like, boyfriends. You know, some flings you have, like a guy that you really like, and his girlfriend, because I, you know, track those too, right? Sounds like I'm the rebound girl. Girlfriend hurts him, this and that, and, like, I'm super charming, bubbly, warm. People want to be around me. And I say super charming. I can be, remember, I am Scorpio rising. I'm a little dark. And I embrace it. But, you know, they would attract themselves to me. And I would mistake it as love, or, like, feelings, or, like, this relationship was going to go somewhere. But after I healed them, they would move on. And you know, I just get my, like, little heart broken so many times. And not so many times, but just, you know, I actually stayed in relationships for a long time. I'm one of those people. But those couple that would come through that I thought that, you know, was going to be something, it was a spiritual assignment. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that, and it took me time to realize that I was actually healing people, and then that goes to say, with an empath, I didn't realize it then. Now, back then, and I'm talking about like high school days, I was like lazy and tired and stuff and fatigued. But what teenager isn't? What teenager isn't tired? You know, but I was a little extra tired maybe, but I really pushed through. Now, as I got older and I became more spiritual woke, like if I'm around people too long, they literally suck my energy out and I'm like dead on the couch. Some days, like once a month or something, like if I push myself too hard or around way too many people, there's been times where, like, I can hardly get off the couch. I'll get off the couch and go to the bathroom and get back on the couch like I'm dying. And I never napped, like, but would sleep on and off because I was literally drained from other people's emotions on a subconscious level. So, you know, I had to kind of take a little extra care of myself, you know, now, besides back then. What I'm saying is I was always spiritual and didn't realize it. And so my abilities came faster. And there's one more thing I want to add too. I had said it in the other video. And before you guys please don't go thumping my video. Okay? Hear me out. Hear me out. Growing up, I was raised in a Christian family, like on one side. And I went to church and stuff, and, you know, I had fun, like, I enjoyed it, I enjoyed going to church, and this and that, and we did the Bible studies, but, I mean, like, when I went home, like, church didn't come up until, like, the next week, and as it got older, like, I started realizing that people around me, like, they really were, like, took it serious, and for me, like, it was so over my head, like, over my head, completely over my head. I just, and when I got older, I was actually guilty about it, like trying to be like, God, why can't I believe? Like, why don't I believe? And it would scare me, like thinking about hell and stuff. All right. When I went through, well, okay, let me back that up. But as a child, I'll tell you this, and then I'm going to go back to my perception of, you know, God or whatever. As a child, like I said, Bible, like, God didn't really come back up unless I was talking to my grandparents or somebody. I was attracted to super spiritual things. I always collected feathers. I collected seashells. I would find rocks and sit outside and bust the rocks with hammers until I could find geodes, like crystals. I always looked to save the baby birds and fed the baby birds, the ones that fell out of their nests, and try to keep them warm, and had a little barn for them. I had a pond that I filled with water and sand and stacked like all these big rocks. It was my frog pond. I kid you not. 50 frogs at one time, like 20, 30, 40, 50, so many. Me and my mom counted them. Just one of those small blue kiddie pools. I loved frogs. I still love frogs today. I have tried so many times to link that. Like, why do I love frogs so much? Trying to link it to something, and I've yet to figure it out. So I've called myself Frog Queen, like jokingly. But I have always loved frogs. And so I was attentive with I'd find the frogs, and I'd put them in my frog pond. And I'd find the baby birds, and I'd collect the seashells, and I would have books at like age 7, 8 on mummies. Infatuated with death, and not in a gothic way, just like I was thinking, I would look at the pictures of the mummies and how they cut all their organs out, as morbid as that sounds, and I would think about God and like the spirituality, and like, you know, I really would think about all these things. Even at 7 or 8, I was loved the planets, the stars, like I was into what was above me, and the ocean and its depths, like, you know, just like supernatural, awesome things, like not artifacts, eco-facts, because an artifact is an artificial fact that's something artificially made to be like something natural, but an eco-fact is like I don't know if it's economically, no, whatever. It's comes from like the earth. It's like, you know, it's not man-made. So eco-facts. I was like, I loved, and I loved horses. And I even meditated when I was a kid, not realizing it. I would ride my horse and not think anything and just ride my horse, and my hair would be blowing in the wind. And I'll never forget listening to her hooves, their hooves, doo-doo, doo-doo, and just feeling the wind in my face and like feeling so spiritual, like in my soul. And I remember being that way like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Seriously, but not realizing it. Like, not on a, I didn't realize that I was so different than everybody else. I was super eccentric, and I really had soul. I had soul. I could feel it here, and I say that all the time. God, I can feel it here. So, which is awesome because, like, my imagination was wild. So, anyway, I was all of these things, and I was a good kid, and I told you I didn't have jealousy and hate, and I couldn't get that God perception going on. Okay, so when I went into a spiritual awakening, let's see. My aunt had passed away, and she was the first wake up of other wake ups to come. And she was super spiritual too, very drawn. She's on that side of the family. We're all drawn to certain things, and it wasn't like she wasn't like drawn to. She wasn't like a devil worshiper or anything. She just like was drawn to like tarot and psychics and ghosts and supernatural. See, because in the beginning you don't really know much, but I knew about the supernatural and stuff just as a sense of knowing, because I told you my mom didn't let me watch like bad stuff, scary stuff. But my aunt, they always had like ghost stories and stuff, and things that actually happened, and things that they probably made up to scare us. But I know some things actually happened because my grandmother was there. Like it's attracted to the family. It's not attracted to the family. It's just energy. Depending on what type of vibrational being you are, you're just sensitive. Like some people probably like live there in a house and don't even know that they had a ghost the whole time. Well, not this family. And then some people, it's not even in their purpose. Like, it doesn't even matter. They don't even like care. Sorry guys, I might kind of be addicted to sage a little bit, just because. So when she passed away and I went to her funeral, the night, like, we had her urn across from us in the hotel room, and the phone had started ringing, and it had happened 3 times, and everyone was fumbling to get the phone, and like nobody was on the line, and like this is like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're in a hotel room, and like there's 3 rooms with a couple people in each room. This is like a night or 2 after her funeral. Nobody's gonna make a prank call at 3 o'clock in the morning in our hotel room after a funeral. Like, who in their right mind, right? Okay, anyway, so that kept happening, and I remember hearing everything, but I was like this. Like, I just remember, I wasn't even thinking. I was just laying there with my eyes closed, and I never moved. I do not sleep on my back. I sleep on my side, but this was the start of something. I was sleeping on my back. And out of like nowhere, because my uncle was like, who the hell, like something with the phone. Like, that was like the 3rd time, and the phone started dialing the 3rd time too, by the way. Like, it was like but it was dial tone the first 2 times. And I said in my sleep, and this is the thing, I didn't even think it. I didn't think it, and I know I didn't think it, but I remember it. I was like this, and I said, it's Amber. And my uncle said something, and then Shannon, the friend beside us, said something, and I reached over and grabbed her arm, and I said, no, Shannon, you don't get it. Amber likes to play jokes like that. Well, my aunt was a jokester. She was funny and loud and laughed and prank called people, and it's like she channeled through me, or somebody channeled the message through me, and I said it like subconsciously, unconsciously, subconsciously. Well, unconsciously too, because I was like technically asleep. And I never moved or woke, like, said anything after that. Like, when I woke up that morning, my uncle said something about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, wow, that was weird. Well, after that happened, there are a couple other incidences. I went home. I had already been going through some things with some family members that were, and I don't want to blast anything or put anybody's business out there, but were just had some crazy tendencies, and there was some toxicity going around, and I started becoming aware of things and separating myself on a subconscious level. And I was by myself with my son, and my husband was gone to another country for a year, so I had like some time on my own. So after that happened with her, I had like initially thought like, wow, like she's always been into that, the ghosts and stuff. And I mean, we were too. I'm not that much anymore. It just kind of depends on what's going on, because I don't look for trouble, especially stuff that I don't know, how to like completely handle it. Because who does? It's such a gray area. We only know so much. But I had thought like, wow, like God's like real, or you go somewhere when you die. Like, I never thought you didn't, but there was always that doubt, just because of how whatever, wasn't evolved enough. And like, I also had a very close friend who lived there in Washington with me, and she comes from my soul group, and I mean, like, she's amazing. And we like, oh, here comes my son. I'll have to pause this. I had thought like, wow, like God's like real, or you go somewhere when you die. Like, I never thought you didn't, but there was always that doubt, just because of how whatever, wasn't evolved enough. And like, I also had a very close friend who lived there in Washington with me. And she comes from my soul group, and I mean, like, she's amazing. And we like, oh, here comes my son. I'll have to pause this. Okay, sorry about that. This time I should have enough room, though. I guess I need more gigabytes. Who knows? Anyway, with your 12th house, with my 12th house, it says with Libra in my 12th house. Let me back that up. 12th house is the unknown. It is. Sorry about that, guys. I can merge them now, so that's okay. Anyway, my very close friend from Washington, like, long story short, she was raised like super, not super Christian, but she was raised in a Christian family too. And she would always talk to me about like God and this and that. And she was like kind of she was a part of me steering in the right direction. And anyway, but with her, she was open-minded with what I had to say, with me, with like evolutionary astrology and numerology, and just the way I perceived all kinds of things. And she gave me the best compliment ever in my life, because she said, because I was moving, I'm going to miss you. Like, I was thinking, I've got to have Kelsey in my life, even when you leave, because, with you, it's like never ending. Like, I feel like my mind grows with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, do you mean that? Like, that was the best compliment I've ever had, because I'm very intellectual. And it was nice knowing that somebody was soaking in, or taking, forming a perspective on what I had to say, which goes back to my life path purpose, which, she has her own life path purpose, and she wasn't coming to me for anything. We would talk about things and put things together, and, just really have like good, in-depth, very intellectual conversations without arguing and being like, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. And it has grown into me having certain younger girls in my life who are close to me that has came to me about things. And I told you, sometimes like it just comes through, and I have really guided some of these younger girls Um, not because like I think like my way's the right way. It's because they were guided to me to guide them in that direction. Probably because our soul purpose is similar, or it has something to do with spiritually awakening, and ascension. But the reason why I'm also so propelled or so guided to talk to her is because, one, she is my sister-in-law, my younger one, but she's 18, and I am so blown away at how aware she is at 18. Like, I'm almost kind of jealous because I wished I would have been aware like that. Like, I wasn't having signs like that. I wasn't having dreams like that. Like hers, it's like she don't even realize like how she realizes how awesome it is, but she doesn't really realize like how in depth. Like hers is coming early, and that probably has something to do with me being around. Not that I said it, not that I did that, but everything has a purpose, and I talk to her about all these things. Whatever comes to mind, whatever she asks me, we share stories, and it's just awesome. It's just awesome to be able to resonate with people like that, because there's not many people like you. Like they say, when you start spiritually waking up, like you might be lonely or sad, like feel alone. Okay, well, I didn't feel lonely and sad. Sometimes I kind of felt like I was like different and nobody understood. Granted, I had people in my family and people, around me that I was close with, that I could tell them all this crazy eccentric stuff that was happening to me. But it came a time when I realized like they won't even fully understand, because nobody will. I have always said, if we all had the ability to literally take a walk in each other's shoes, if we all had the ability to take a walk in each other's shoes, the world would be so much a better place. Like, there'd be a deeper understanding of every situation, because you were in that person's shoes, in their feelings, in their meat suit, in their mind, in their emotions, in their position. And you would be less likely to judge so fast, or to be so mean, or to cut with your tongue, and being an empath, you can do that. You can understand, but like not like in that depth. Maybe sometimes every once in a while when you got some wild something going on, but anyway. So I had all these women and these girls in my life in a synchronization. Another friend, that I met and that I had been friends with for years, and I hadn't seen her in like 5 years. But it was like we picked up where we left off, because she's one of those spiritual beings. And stories and dreams she was telling me were the same stories and dreams my friend in Washington was telling me. Okay, so both of these girls who don't know each other, who live 3,000 miles apart, were having the same epiphanies, the same thoughts, like the same dreams. And to me, like that was messages. Like, and those messages aren't like deep messages. Those are just awareness, epiphanies. Everything's connected. The universe is working around you to get your attention to see the synchronizations, okay? And that's before, like, I had a Kundalini awakening. So my aunt passed, and I started waking up because I realized, oh my gosh, like, she contacted us from the other side and through me. And then once that happened, and I was separating myself from someone narcissistic, that person purposely attacked me, not physically, but did something to me that I didn't see coming, that I should have known better, that was highly narcissistic, and it triggered me to figure out why. Like, there were questions. Why did this person do that? What did I do? Did I do anything? What kind of trauma happened to them, whether it was a psychological childhood trauma or a past life? Like, what's wrong with this person? Because sociopaths and psychopaths, and I said they're the dark empaths, they don't give a shit. They'll never give a shit. Like, there's nothing here. And that's scary. That's really scary. And to go ahead and put it out there, you hear about all those women who, you hear about like the sociopaths and psychopaths, dark empaths, narcissists, they can turn into serial killers. They can, you know, whatever empowers them, whatever their fetish is, whatever. Not all of them, but some of them can. And you hear it every time. This woman goes missing. And these people that care about her, it's like, oh, she's the nicest person. Oh, she every Friday she donated to the Humane Society and walked the dogs, and she visited the children at the Children's Hospital, and she worked at the homeless shelter. Like, she's the nicest person. I don't know why anybody would do that to them. Well, I can tell you why. Her vulnerability, her light, her gift. That dark empath attracts itself to the light empath. And they'll see you as vulnerable and naive, and because you are so forgiving and so loving, you can feel people's energy out. And this is another thing. You know when someone's not up to good, and I'm so good about that. My gut's never wrong. But when you're messing with someone who's an empath just like you, a dark one at that, you can be, because they're so charming. They're so charming and so nice, and you just enjoy your time with them, but they're fake. They are a snake in the grass, and they have an agenda. And it could be the smallest of agendas, okay? It could be the stupidest over a power trip. Like a literal power trip on you. The agenda, what they did, does not serve them at all, except the fact that they know that you're suffering. That's the kind of people I'm talking about. They felt you out, snooped you out, and you fell for it, and then they caught you in their trap, okay? Those women, you know, whatever they attracted, they thought that they were helping someone, they felt bad for them, they thought they were handsome, you know, and I'm not saying be scared of everybody, but because they were so loving and caring, that the dark empath saw that as a tool. You know, they saw their opportunity. And so, you know, you hear about that, like the women getting killed or in torture chambers, or, you know, murdered or raped, and this is real stuff. Like, people like that, sociopaths, psychopaths, people are serial killers or whatever, mutilate bodies and stuff. There's no conscience there, and that is most of the time a dark empath, because they can blend in and fool ya. Okay, I know I got that brown tooth right there. It got it hit when I was riding horses. I mean, I grew up riding horses, and that was probably 12, 13, 14, 15. No, that was, yeah, probably 15 years ago. And it finally decided to die last year. And I got it fixed. Now I got to get it capped. So, chipped it a long time ago. But anyway, and I just don't have time. That's what a dark empath is. So I'm saying, like, you have to, like, you be careful of, like, those type of people, obviously. But I really don't know where I was going with that. Oh, spiritually waking up. So, when I spiritually woke up, I said my aunt passed away, and then I dealt with a narcissist or a dark empath, which made me become more aware. So I started, my uncle had already told me, you know, a little time before that I was an empath. So I started reading about empaths, and I was like, oh my God, like, that's me. And people, and I would explain that to people too. Like, there were people that I knew, and I was like, you know, oh my gosh, don't you feel it? Like, don't you feel it? Today is fall, you know, like the first of fall. And nobody felt it, or like even you could just smell it, or you just walked outside and it just felt like fall that day. Finally, you know, that's being an empath. And there's 100 other things, but what I'm getting to is, you know, I didn't even notice those things about myself, not until later. So I found out that, like, I was an empath, and then about my aunt. So I started reading about my aunt, and then I started reading about this narcissistic person in my life, and I mean, all the knowledge was just coming through. Like, I had so many questions, and I mean, I had so many questions. Like, there were things that I wanted to know. And this isn't, I haven't even gotten hit with the Kundalini awakening yet. I'm just telling you, like, I was just waking up and becoming aware that there's something wrong with this person. I need to get away from this person. He's going to ruin my life. And it's not my husband, by the way. Just saying, you know, and not it. He was a family member. Anyway, so I start getting kind of sucked in, and then I started talking to my ancestors, my spirit guides, and because my husband was gone, I started sounding a little crazy to him. It wasn't anything surprising, because I've always kind of been, like, spiritual, but it was like, it's like my mind just expanded. And I mean, I was all over it. Like, I wanted to tell the world. And he was like, "You're sounding a little obsessed." And that word offended me. It used to. It doesn't offend me anymore. But I was like, I had to get it out, And it was so bad that people thought like I was pushing my beliefs on them. No, I may have been in a way, but just because like I wanted people to like understand, and not everybody's gonna understand. But it was just like a door opened up, and I just wanted people to understand. So that's why I'm here now saying what I have to say, because it's like I had to get it out, and I was like lecturing a lot of people around me or just telling them about my findings. Some people would come to me and wanted to hear what I had to say. Some people were like, "Oh God, like I'm sick of hearing about this," So I was just like consumed, and I started asking for signs, and then signs started coming through, and I can tell you small stories later about that, but like signs with the feathers, and then me like actually walking through energy fields where I felt chills all over my body, pulsating on my body. Those are spiritual chills. This was different. This was like spiritual chills, but I walked through something twice in my house, and I said, "Oh my gosh, Amber, is that you?" to my aunt. And she hit me again in my face, and it may or may not have been her. It might have been another family member with her, just someone in my soul group, but it was the fact that they were communicating with me. So all these little things were going on, and I'm in the middle of like packing my stuff and trying to move out of my house too, because I'm moving down here to Texas. Like I was, I had stuff going on. And I was manifesting things that I needed without even realizing it. I even know what manifestation was then. I didn't even, like, I read about it and I didn't understand. Like, I didn't get it. And it sounds so simple now, but 3 years ago, I just, even with, like I said, I'd said it before, because I do have one video that didn't get deleted. When I opened up, I wanted a book, an astrological book. I opened up a book and it had the whole planetary alignments, like the astrological chart, what a natal chart would look like. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I could not understand it. Now I can better understand it. It's still kind of hard. Like, you got to really be looking at it and really, these things take time. Like, this is like a lifetime of studying. And for me, I feel like I've really absorbed some things in the last 3 years. Experiences, growth, and knowledge, like wisdom. And that goes back to me even saying about the ancient wisdom, or about being like, I was drawn to the ancients as a kid. I was an old soul, and I did like the mummies and stuff. I'm all about that ancient wisdom, that spirituality, like the source, like what it came from. And also, I wanted to say that this isn't a religion. Some people say it's like a fad that everybody's going through. It's not a fad. For some people who don't actually understand spiritually waking up, and they just think being like a hippie's cool, yes, they're going to kind of think it's a fad. But there's going to be something inside of them that rattles them up, that, makes them start waking up in their time, because we all have our own time to wake up. We all have our own opportunity and choices and free will and karma and, the whole thing. So, I mean, it's really complicated, but for some of us, like, it did not, for the real spiritual beings, we did not choose this. It's not a religion. It's not like, I would say it's more of a way of life. It's like not a way of thinking. Like, I didn't choose spirituality. Spirituality chose me. Like, it came to me, and you don't go back from that. Like, you might fall out of your abilities because something terrible happens to you and you go in a bad mind state or something, but once it's there, it's there. And when you're having spiritual awakenings, it goes up and down, highs and lows. People say, oh, you can have an awakening for like 2 weeks, or you can have them for like 2 years. Well, yeah, you can, but it's going to be spaced out. Like, your mind's going to never stop evolving anyway. If you let it, if you, feed it, you will keep learning things. Your mind will evolve, and the higher your consciousness, the higher you ascend. So, for me, I didn't choose it. It chose me, but I'm proud of it because I am consumed. Like it's a part of me. It's always been a part of me. And what I'm getting to is when I woke up for like with my aunt, and then I told you that thing that happened with that family member. That when that happened with that family member, and then I started like thinking about myself and like evaluating them. I started evaluating myself and realizing like, oh my gosh, like I started thinking about things like I literally forgot about. Like I told you, I loved feathers and I loved geodes and crystals and stuff. I forgot about that. Like I didn't think about that stuff for like, I swear, 10 years, because we live in such a conditioned society that, you know, I was that way up until what, like 8, 9, 10 years old, and then you go to be a teen, and then there's like school and pressure of fitting in, and you know, like sports and stuff, that you don't have time for the extra stuff that isn't taught to you, and you go in another direction of doing what everybody tells you to do, thinking what everybody wants you to think, you know, just wearing what everybody else is wearing, and you aren't taught to explore yourself. You're not taught to sit back and decipher who you are, who you want to be, what you want, what you need to grow. And that's just how it's been forever. But I skipped something. You guys have probably been waiting on me forever to say my perception of God. When I started waking up and then like getting more into my spirituality, I realized it wasn't that I didn't believe in God. It was that it was not being taught to me in the way that I could perceive it, because my mind, and I don't mean this, I'm a little arrogant and I don't mean to be, I see it in myself, and I'll have to get onto myself, but then sometimes like it's just like the truth. You're like, I just feel like it's the truth, and I'm always going to speak my truth. My mind on a subconscious level was kind of beyond some of the people around me. So whatever they were telling me, it didn't soak in, it didn't stick. And that's because it didn't resonate with my soul purpose. And that's what I said about a starseed child, or a very rebellious child, or kind of a difficult child. Keep in mind that they're just a more advanced soul, like in a toddler's body here, ready to pick up the mission behind us after we go. And you know, that's the truth, because more and more advanced souls are coming into the earth. And, you know, they don't just come in as old men, you know, they start as children and grow. But when you are in another life, there's things that stick with you, and you take that to the next life. And that's how sometimes you just know things, or you just like things that just, you know, wasn't a custom in your family. Like certain things you're drawn to, certain things you know, certain abilities you have, certain whether it's spiritual abilities or like just business like oriented, you know, all those things that weren't taught to you that just come in, that's from other lives. So anyway, I realized that like what they were feeding me wasn't feeding my soul, and I literally dusted it off until the right thing came along. And then I didn't struggle with it anymore, because after I started getting my messages like with the feathers, and my like my arm vibrating, and like my walking through, having the chills, you know, spiritual chills, walking through, talking to my guides. Now, if someone says something that resonates on a soul core right here and in your body, you get the chills, like, and it's not like you're cold, but you get like goosebumps in your face or your ears or your back, your arms, or your whole body, or whatever. It pulsates like that, radiates, or like this, like energy, because it is energy. That is your guides basically being like, listen to what he's saying. That's right. You already know that on a soul level. Pay attention. Listen. Just like like that, like it resonates, you know, and some people think it just comes from your soul. So it just depends on how you see it. But I when I got all that started going on, I was just like, God is real. Like, it's real. It's magic. Like, the whole universe is magic. Everything's so vast. And I was like, just like, I'd always been open-minded about other things, so how could I not believing like God and like good and evil and stuff? I had been battling evil in my real life with a person who was evil, and then, you know, I was actually being contacted by angels, spirit guides, ancestors, whatever you want to, however you want to put it, however you believe it. And it even goes as far as, I was on the phone with my grandmother, and we were talking, and I just got off the phone with her, and I was doing my dishes and put the phone down, and I had this flash in my head. I saw this Bloody Mary on the table with the celery stick, and it was a Bloody Mary. Like, it had everything. It had like a straw, and it had okra and the celery stick and the olives. And I thought, oh dear, I'm going to have a Bloody Mary with her when I get to Texas, because I was coming to visit. And I kept washing my dishes. And I got off the phone. I mean, I got done doing dishes. It had been like an hour. And I sat on the couch and I picked up my phone. And I pressed Facebook. The first thing that come up on Facebook was that Bloody Mary. Like, she was having one. And I thought about her. She went, after we got off the phone, down the road and had dinner and had a Bloody Mary. And I saw that Bloody Mary in my third eye. Randomly. And then that's when I was like, okay, let's do this. Totally in it to win it. And I kept digging deeper and deeper. And I eventually moved down here and continued to be a spiritual being. And then a traumatic event happened to me in my life. Here. That woke me up. And what happened was, I had set off a spontaneous Kundalini awakening and didn't even know what that was, and thought I was sick. I mean, I thought that I had cancer, I thought my organs were shutting down. I was thinking the worst. As an empath, you're already treated as a hypochondriac because you know the energies affect you, and just because physically you're okay, spiritually you're not, and that's when you have to kind of go out the box and find someone that insurance doesn't all cover for you to see or whatever, or you do research and you figure out how to take care of yourself. But the energies were so intense, I got hit, and for a while, for a couple weeks, and then a couple months, shit was wild. My body would be pulsating, just pulsating. All my veins hurt, and my arms and my legs hurt, and my hips hurt, my bones hurt, my joints hurt, and I had severe UTIs, and then my liver hurt, and then I was having something going on with my gallbladder. I was worried, and I was so tired, and I boils. I have acne scars that I never had before because I was getting the worst acne. And there would be times where my body, I would be so hot and so cold, and I'd be so cold. I'd be freezing, but it was 75 degrees outside, and and I don't have fever. And then I would have a flu, a spiritual flu. And I mean, just things, and my sleeping pattern was messed up. I was pretty out there, and not only was I going through that, but the knowledge was hitting me. I was into it. I was comparing everything. I was religion and missing books from the Bible, and the Book of Thomas, and then astrology and numerology and occult science, and I was trying to figure it out. I had so many questions, so many, and I still have them, but it's I filled in a lot of blanks. And that's what I had mainly focused on. I started getting consumed, because then I started getting a lot of animal messages through animals and insects, and I was getting number sequences: 1111, 222, 333, 555, the 144, 622. Some people don't even notice those number sequences, because you guys think number sequences 1111 and 555 or 222, all that. Those are. But what else I'm getting to is my abilities were all coming in at the same time. Now, I always have been able to call bullshit. Always known when people were lying to me. I knew how to snoop that boyfriend's phone. If I knew, I knew if I had been cheated on. I knew if he had lied. Didn't matter. I didn't even know how I knew, and I never even thought about how I knew. It was just that sixth sense was always there. And I just walk in a room and know that people were talking shit in that room. Like, I just knew vibes. I mean, just like that. And I knew someone had a problem, and a lot of people didn't notice it because they just weren't aware, but I did. And I'd had people think that, you know, like, oh, you're overreacting or you're being offensive. No, like, I knew when someone has a problem, and I, like, whatever. You know, so, I knew, that there were certain, like, things going on, but I wasn't, like, that, aware. And I had already been getting the spiritual chills. I had already been, I had two visions, which I'm only going to tell you one, and then I also was like receiving the knowledge, like receiving the download, so I was really like going into it. But when I got hit with that Kundalini awakening, and like my body was like vibrating and pulsating, and the tingling going up my back and down my legs and stuff, I was like very sensitive. And there's a lot going on. I can't even like explain it. Like, I went through like a crazy stage for a little while. I was really sucked in, and I realized later, because I didn't even realize it was a Kundalini awakening then, till a little while later. Clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, which is clairaudient is clear hearing, and I'll get back to that. Clairsentient is like clear seeing, and clairvoyant is clear knowing. I think clairvoyance, clear knowing, and then there's one more too. It was clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyance, and then there's clear knowing, clear hearing, clear seeing, and clear feeling. I have all of those. The only thing is that with clairaudient, I told you with your gifts, some are going to be stronger than others depending on your life purpose. In your inheritance, and I found out later that these women, my ancestors, a couple of them had gifts, and in my natal chart, it clearly states that they were most likely inherited, if like with what planets in that house, because I have a mission, whatever. I also think that you can, because of past lives, you can actually, so for instance, like, I could have been that ancestor, because there's parallel, if you believe in past lives, or parallel lives and past lives together, whatever. Some people believe we live like 3 lives at the same time, and I have a lot of deja vu, and sometimes I'm like, Lord, like, it's just crazy to think that, but, what is crazy? Anyway, with clairaudient is, I didn't realize people think that you just like hear people talking in your ear or next to you. Sometimes that happens. If there's something crazy going on, yeah, there's a wreck up there, and people, I've heard instances where people like heard like stop, and they like stopped and pulled over, and turns out there was an accident, and had they not heard that and pulled over, they could have ended their life, But that hasn't happened to me. But what I'm saying is, I didn't realize what it was until I started listening to other clairaudient women, and started realizing, like, wow, like, I have that, but not as in depth, because that's probably that in clear knowing. Like, clear knowing, you can't, it's like things, but you can't explain them, and I do that. And I've done that, and that's also like an empath, the empath part of me. That kind of goes together. I'm really not sure. I told you I don't like to put a label on things, but you kind of have to label some of these things. With clairaudient, how it started off is when I started spiritually waking up. Moby. And some of you guys, people might not even think like, you know, like he's an artist, but his music was so spiritual. And I started listening to like Moby, and the songs that started coming on the Pandora playlist were like more and more spiritual. And then like I started taking notes of all of these different artists and like indie music and 90s music and now, and I started realizing like all like they were speaking to me, like this spiritual music that just happened to fall in my lap that I was like super drawn to, and really like I would feel the chills, and I would like be dancing and feeling the chills, and I was actually vibrating higher because I was so into my spirituality and peaceful and just felt myself. So that music was just coming to me, but there are messages behind it, and it took me like later on. I always knew there was messages behind it, and I'd be like, wow, that like really resonates with me, but I didn't realize until later on that those were actually kind of being clairaudient in a manner, because when you're spiritually waking up, you can have all these crazy gifts going on, and eventually it'll settle down, and you'll kind of find yourself and find like what you're working with, or what gift you got, or what purpose you have. But the music spoke to me, and it resonated with like what was going on in my life, like being so spiritual and saying things that I didn't think anyone else would think about, and I didn't even think that it would be in music, like this type of music. So it was I don't know. I mean, I just like, it's awesome. But what I'm getting to is even farther after the Kundalini awakening, and then a turn of events that happened in my life, I even realized even further, like one of these artists that I listen to, Tanya Donnelly, who's awesome, and she's like a 90s singer. Her music was like pertained to like exactly part of my purpose, or something that's intertwined with it. It's not part of it. I don't know. It has to do with like, I'm not ready to put all my stories out there, but it kind of has to do with like past life, someone from your past life, in a manner, or something that you're going through. One of her songs are like, Kundalini slide up my spine and blows my mind. Let me see this dying rock shine. And then she says, and the doors of the mosque blow wide, and there's nothing but fear inside. And the doors of the church blow wide, and there's nothing but fear inside. And the doors of the temple blow wide, and there's nothing but fear inside. Okay, well that's basically saying when you start waking up, especially when you have a Kundalini awakening, your world crumbles around you, because you realize everything you were lied to about everything. Like, you were lied to about so much. Your whole life was a lie. Like, you can't really blame anybody, but you just start becoming aware of like how conditioned society is, like how small-minded people can be. I'm sorry to offend anybody, but you're just like, whoa, like there's so much more out there. How can we be such a bubblehead, you know? And with the Kundalini awakening, you start becoming very aware of things. And Kundalini awakening also happens from certain triggers, either before or after something comes with that. And she just sung about all of it. And it was like, you know, she was on that same path, or dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. And also Stevie Nicks, like Fleetwood Mac. Like, if you guys have watched Coven, American Horror Story, like the 3rd season, that's all filmed in New Orleans. It's based in New Orleans. And Stevie's like a part of it. But she really was like, you know, people want to say white witch, and I don't really like the word witch. I don't. But she really was a spiritual being, and a lot of that stuff she sings about is the same stuff that Tanya Donnelly sings about. And it's like nobody knows. Like, it's so rare to be in these women's position. In a minute, and it's even not that rare anymore, and I will tell a whole nother post about that, because you guys are all probably wondering what I'm thinking about, what I'm talking about. Either you know or you don't know, but I'm not ready to tell that story. So anyway, it was like more and more messages just start flooding through, and more awakenings happen. And then struggling with who you are, what you're going to do with your life. Like, your life will abruptly change, and that's okay. Now, mine's abruptly changed, but not enough to where like I'm just struggling just yet, but I am in a transition. I'm in a real transition, and you will see it the more you watch my videos. After I had woke up and where I am now, I'm like about to open my business in a week. And when I went through this awakening, I really I used to not have social anxiety like I do now. I used to not I actually looked at myself like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago at like 17, 15, 16, 17. So I'm 27. I shined. I had to blend in and I had to shine. Had I not had it and it has to do with my sector too, like my charts, like where Leo is in my 10th house. Because I was there, I had to stand out, and I did to an extent, whether it be good or bad. But I was an achiever. And I was an overachiever, but I just attracted positive things, and my life is kind of like filled with beauty and love and fun and hope and happiness, I guess, So anyway, I moved far away, and I'm back here now, and I had 2 years of being like a hermit, and now I'm evolving back. I'm putting myself out there again. Just because, and what I'm getting to is, it's because I told you numerology and your astrological chart, your natal chart, the 12th houses. It's your natal birth chart, the 12th houses. Let me state this clear. You do that chart on 4 different websites, because some of these websites, you can do all the free ones. Some of these websites, there's one error in there that someone makes and it messes up all the charts. Now, I've been given 2 different charts. I had to decipher them. I know exactly what my chart is now, and I know where all my houses are. The last thing you want to do is go read a chart that's not yours, think it's yours, and try to live by that, and you're going the wrong direction, So even if it sounds like you, just just make sure, okay? So with my chart, for instance, we had this lunar eclipse, remember? And with this lunar eclipse we had, by the way, if you like tarot readers, some people can be fake. I get it. But Miriam Kramer at Point Your Compass on YouTube is amazing. She does readings for zodiacs, for your zodiac monthly, and sometimes mid-month, but she also puts evolutionary astrology in there. So, depending on how the planetary alignments are and what's going on with the planets and what planet's in what position, how it's going to affect what house, you find out what house you're in. And it's not telling your future, but you're being given a tool or a key to kind of decipher what's coming next, what you need to do, what you need to watch out for. And it's really amazing because I see the effects. It's not always going to happen to you, that month, or it might go over your head. And also energy, you can't put it as time. So she'll say this is going to happen, it's going to take a toll this month, but you might not see it until 5 weeks later, or you might see it before or after, but because energy, it goes anyway. So she does evolutionary astrology, and for this year, when we had the super wolf blood moon lunar eclipse, and everybody was raving about it, you hear every year that people's New Year's resolution, this and that, and not a big deal, right? All these people are changing. All these people are becoming brand new. Well, this year was the year, I want to say, of Aquarius or something, and the whole next 7 years, the way the planets are positioned, and then what is in the charts, and what's going on with people ascending, the ascension that's taking place, higher states of consciousness, higher levels of consciousness, that is literally taking effect. People are propelling forward. We are letting go of what no longer serves us anymore, and this new shift in this new year, the way it played out, the month of January going into February and March, that really took a toll on a lot of people. And I've seen it, because I've seen people splitting up that you wouldn't have thought would split up, or you've seen people shining or doing things that you just didn't expect them to do, or you see people coming out of their shell. Okay? Well, I didn't even see it affecting me. Like, I own a boutique bus. It's called the Boho Bus Boutique. You can find it on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just starting it up. I'm here in Central Texas. If you guys want to come see me, super cute clothes. Big thing for me. And I kind of struggle with having to get out there in front of people. And I had been working on it and a little behind. And I also, like I'm speaking to you guys right now, I've been wanting to get this out and lecturing people that I'm comfortable around. Well, after this planetary alignment took place or something, or before, it was like, time to get your shit together. Things are coming at you. Fuck it. Like, be who you are. Like, I don't care anymore. You want to criticize? You want to criticize. Want to have a healthy debate? We'll have a healthy debate. And I don't have time for all that because I'm super busy, but I'm pursuing my passion, because your passion is your purpose. What's here, what feels right, what you want to do, what you're drawn to, like what you want to do, what calls to you. It might not be your full purpose, but it has something to do with it. And what I'm getting to is, with this planetary alignment that was happening, I think it was Uranus and Saturn, and I'm not exactly sure, but the whole thing about it was, it was in Leo, because this was happening in Leo. Leo is like your like, Leo obviously represents love, but it also is like your business sector, leadership sector, ego sector, power sector, family sector, stability sector. So, you know, she said in like the video that this could affect, you know, it's men of power, so it could affect the government or the president, or, you know, if there's anyone in your family who's had like ego trips or like prideful trips, or who had a hold on you in a way, you know, they're getting a sweep. A sweep's coming through. There's a tower moment. Either if you've been like kind of wronged in a way, like things are going to look up for you, or you're going to break free from them. Or if they have like a hold on you or a hold on somebody else, they're going to stoop down a notch. Or if they're just super egotistical, they're going to come down a little bit and realize, like, you know, what they're doing wrong. Like, something's going to happen, and it has to do with like leadership position, whether it be good or bad. And she also said that people who had like issues like with stability or codependency, or who really like, who, and I'm not going to say bad people, but just depending on your situation, either you're going to cling to it because it's scary as hell, like, you know, like the codependency, or you're going to however it plays out, because I can't tell you like a scenario, but either you're going to like embrace the change and you're going to propel forward and shed that old skin of yours, or you're actually going to cling tighter. And she said, wherever Leo is in your astrological chart, it could affect that greater. Well, we were having this planetary alignment happening with that full moon and all this and that with the lunar eclipse. Leo is in my 10th sector. My 10th sector is business and leadership. It's how you present yourself with your business, and your goals, and just, I mean, it's business leadership, and it kind of has to tie in with family. Some of the houses are a little similar, but they have different meanings. For me, and hold on, Uranus is involved, right? Uranus is in my 3rd house. Uranus is in your 3rd house. You're a peculiar person, and that's okay. But Uranus is in my 3rd house, and your 3rd house is about how you present yourself, like your intelligence, your knowledge, how you perceive things. You perceive things different than other people, how you communicate. You're kind of quirky about things, like you're eccentric. Uranus, you get a very odd person, strange person, different, unconventional ways, you know, but a good speaker, a good communicator, they might perceive things differently. It'll come out differently, but a way that you can understand. Just, do you see where I'm going with this? That my 10th house has affected my business is opening in a week, and here I am talking to you guys, putting myself on the spot to get this out so you can better understand your life path purpose and, you know, what's going on with you, whether you're spiritually waking up or, you know, realizing like you're around like someone toxic, or like you need to change your life or whatever, or if you've been feeling propelled to do something and there's like fear or anxiety holding you back. Well, you know, I'm here to tell you that you're not just thinking that, it's actually happening to you because of the energy that's coming off these planetary alignments and the higher dimensional or higher vibrational shifts that's happening. So I just decided, because I had been wanting to make videos for a while now, that I was going to do it. And here I am doing it. And Uranus is involved with it, with my eccentric communication ways, whatever. And also my business is about to open. So, you know, you can see that like literally is all right there. Like it's really happening. And it might be different for some people, but for me, like, I think this is my year. And I'm going to shine, because here's the thing with shining, okay? Embrace who you are. The more positive you are, the higher you vibrate, the more good things you attract to you. That's manifesting things. If you're a positive outlook, positive income, like positive outlook, positive outcome, you know, you believe it, you believe you're going to have it, you believe that these things are going to go right, you just know it's going to work out, like no matter what, you're going to be good, it's going to work out, you're going to be blessed, like things fall together, like the world's a magical place, those things happen to you, they come to you. And if you vibrate up at that higher level and you stay there and you shine, you know, just in your soul, you like shine that light, like you're just like, I can do this and I'm going to do it, and what was I thinking, doubting myself, like I can do it, you know. That attracts other people. That wakes other people up. That's energy, okay? And the best that I can describe it is like, people's like, it forms a template. It forms a template. Okay, well, like, I was like, template? Like, I feel like there could be a better word, but I couldn't come up with one. So, maybe an energetic field over the earth. Everything is energy. Everything is energy, so you got to think a little deeper. These people that are vibrating high like this and woke, you know, like attracts like. People attract themselves to you because you're shining your light, and it makes them want to shine their light too. So it's like, it's a magnetic thing. Like it bounces off of one person to another. Also, there are people who are like couples who vibrate on the same level and then have a soul mission together, soulmate or whatever you want to call it, twin flame. And I told you I don't like giving labels. They even have like karmic lovers, and there was one more, like lifetime lovers or lifetime partner. Anyway, that serve purposes and they carry different traits. Those people come together with their energy, and that vibrates out, shifts out into the world. That light, that template, that higher vibration, that unconditional love goes out into the world, and it wakes more and more people up. People who aren't together and people who are together. People who have met their spiritual counterpart, and people who's like on this mission by themselves for all they know until they meet one. Like it doesn't matter. As long as you're a spiritual being and you're waking up and you're like on this path, you know, it's going to wake you up. So it's all happening. The planetary alignments, the things with the planets, like the astrology, who's to say that God didn't put that there for us? And that's something else, you know, I wanted to say about that is like, these tools are here, and this is the whole thing about divinity, being divine, being one with God, being, you know, being a being of light, like however you want to put it, a part of the universe. There are hidden tools there for us, because I said the people who were like into the mystics and esoteric, like philosophers and alchemists and stuff 300 years ago, were advanced souls. develop these things. And tarot just come out like a little over a year ago, or about a year ago. I mean, 100 years. Tarot came out like 100 years ago. Like 1920s or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, so they haven't been out that long, but tarot is real. If you're a spiritual being and you have faith and you're connected with it, like you're gonna get what you need out of it. Now we're in a position to where our minds are growing so fast and we're such advanced souls that we're realizing the capabilities that not only we have, but the tools that have been given to us to be able to have a clear understanding of our life purpose, or, you know, blockages, and how to propel forward. So with the planets, like I said, who's to say that God did not put the planets there in the alignment with the certain energies to make us who we are, you know, if you break down your freaking astrology chart, you look at the 12 houses, you're going to read where there's like, for instance, you know, typically this person with this planet in this house has codependent parents, or they'll lack one parent, or they'll have a deep issue with a sibling that comes from like another past life, or they like they will be blessed with money and have a codependency problem themselves. You will find these things to like be true. Like it's in the chart, like it's there, and you're like, that's me. If you're self-aware enough that you don't lie to yourself, and I mean, it's just amazing. And then it makes you sit back and think, like, the divine, like God, like what's beyond us is a lot smarter than you guys know. Like, it's a lot smarter than you guys think. Like, we're not just some stardust, like, you know, shiny, like green, swirly sparkles that go up and float into nothing and be happy and peaceful all the time. Like, they're still working up there. And they mapped it out. They mapped it out for us so we would have tools if only we would open our minds and see and give it a little time. People say, like, meditate, this and that, and I do it, and I'm not going to lie, like, I'm not, like, a super meditative pro, but they always leave out, like, astrology or numerology, or, you know, like, those two things are pretty essential to, like, not to speak with your gods, but with answers, like, you seek, are going to be in there. I'm going to have to wrap this up shortly, but one more thing to add with the 12th house chart is going back to being an old soul. I am a Scorpio rising. I'm born a Libra. I'm Scorpio rising, which means I was on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, but I was born in a Libra month. Uranus is in my 3rd house, and I'm a Libra sun. I can't think of all of them. I'm like, Leo's in my 10th house, Sagittarius in my 2nd, Taurus in my 7th. Your 1st house, your 4th house, your 7th house, and your 10th house is what influences you the most. The other houses show like your business sector, the other houses show like your family sector and everything hidden. So like the 8th house and the 12th house are everything hidden. Gemini's in my 8th house. So my 8th house, with someone in the 8th house, those people will strive for their dreams. They'll have a superficial yet odd way of doing things that other people wouldn't perceive as normal. These people find happiness in the oddest places, hence my spirituality. They're eccentric, loving, caring, but they just kind of do things differently. And that's with Gemini in that house. Now, that house talks about, if you take that planet out, just the house, before you put your planet in it, the house is secrets. It is death, rebirth, the hidden. sex. It's how you see death. It's how you blossom into who you are. It's how you are sexually. Like, it's how, you know, it speaks about, it's things on a subconscious level. So things that influenced you, I would say, from like a past life. Things from a past life influence you in this life in a way that you don't know. So it's like mysterious. Like the eighth house, there's mysterious stuff going on in there, and you gotta dig real deep to figure it out, basically. Which I find the mysterious things the most interesting. But then let's get to the 12th house. And this all has to do with me and how reincarnation just keeps coming up. Past lives have came up for years for me. And now I truly believe I've lived them. Because I've even had epiphanies or like visions that I thought were just like my imagination. But the more I realized how I was just not clairaudient, but clear seeing, clear sentence. So it's clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling, and clear knowing. Clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant. Can't remember that one. Guys, everything always gets full because my videos are so long, and I guess I need to do them on YouTube, but I like to be able to merge them just in case someone calls, even though I'm on my iPad. Anyway, so however they are, you'll have to go back and look because I always get things mixed up, and you'll learn that about me. I'll say tarot instead of tarot, even though I know what it is. I'll say Celtic. I'll say Celtic instead of Celtic, even though I know what it is. I'll say assortic instead of esoteric, even though I know what it is. I will turn the same light switch the wrong direction for the rest of my life, even though I know it don't go that way. Whatever. So sorry. Anyway, I was saying with being clairaudient, clairsentient, whatever. I don't know where I was going with that, but with the 8th house, and everything's secret, hidden, whatever. Okay, so when we get into the 12th house, like I said, and reincarnations came up with me so many times that I know it has. I have here to tie. I have here. I am here to tie up loose ends. And, you know, I'm really chill today. I didn't get much sleep. And I made a lot of videos and, like, they all got deleted. But right now I'm taking my time. I'm really surprised that I have not gotten hit. Like, sometimes they'll hit me. Like, I'll just get hit with the knowledge. And that stuff will be coming out. So I kind of feel like I'm not explaining it to you guys, like I'm not on a roll like I usually am, and I apologize for that because this will end up being my first video now. But just bear with me and keep following because I'm gonna hit some points. Like, you like that button and things are gonna come to me, and I'm gonna start talking about things that you needed to hear or whatever. Anyway, so Libra is in my 12th house. Even though I'm a Libra, Libra's in my 12th house. And there was a situation in my life, and I had been digging for an answer. And I had answers in front of me, like numerical wise, because I told you, like, numbers make up the universe. And it sounds so absurd to me at one point in time to think, like, oh, numbers make up the universe. Like, oh, the angels, they talk to us through numbers, you know? But they do. Numbers speak to us in riddles, and if you can decipher them, me having clear knowing, it would be like I would see, you know, I would see stuff on the clock daily, and I would see numbers, sequences, and, you know, I know what the certain ones mean, like 333 and 444, 1111, but I started seeing numbers, and I took that, like, I knew that meant something somehow, like 144, in which also I think that resonates with the 144,000, which I think resonates with a certain amount of starseeds that have a certain type. Okay, that should give me enough freaking time, okay? Anyway, with freaking Libra in your 12th house, it speaks vividly, first of all, about your 12th house, talks about past lives. And it also talks about things hidden in plain sight, the unknown, the gray area. With your 12th house, not with Libra in it, with your 12th house, it's also the subconscious mind. And it's kind of similar to your 8th house, but it's really talking about past lives, things that, like, for instance, things that past traumas or past experiences you brought with you here in your soul, that you use for your future in a manner without knowing it. So it's just the unknown. It's things that you don't know, that other people might even notice about you that you don't notice about yourself, or certain situations that calls for using your intuition. And it speaks vividly about past lives. That's the whole thing. Okay, well, Libra is in my 12th house with Mars. When Mars in Libra is in my 12th house, which will be in October, but when that happens, it says that it is inevitable that Libra's either lied or been lied to. I've been lied to a lot in my life. But if they can push their feelings aside from being betrayed and lied to, they will see that they're caught up in this wild, mystical journey, and they will come to realize that something that was once lost is here in this life. Something that was lost in a past life will be revealed in this life. And that is so true. And it says that, and it has to kind of do with karma, but it says that, whatever was lost in a past, whatever was lost in one life will be found in this life. That's what it says. I was trying to get that wording out right. Whatever was lost in one life, whatever was lost, like the unknown, it will be found in this life. And also, I want to let you guys know with the 12th houses, so like 1 kind of resonates with 2. Like 1 and 2 kind of go together, and 2 and 3 kind of go together, and 3 and 4 kind of go together. When you get down to 12, 12 goes back to 1. And this is like where I'll kind of give you the tools if you're in my position with your 1st house and your 12th house, or a past life thing, or anything like that, whatever the case may be, if you want to try to decipher it, because it is like the secrets, the unknown, it says you ask yourself, if your 1st house does not resonate at all with your 2nd house, or it doesn't fit your purpose, or it doesn't fit you, or it doesn't fit, how you feel about it, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Should I turn my head in that direction? Does this serve me at all? Is this for me? Kind of thing. Which I would say has to do with like karma coming around. Is it good karma? Is it bad karma? Do I go down this path? Do or don't? Because sometimes things that were lost in a past life do come to us in this life, but it doesn't always mean that it's meant to be forever, or that it's good, or that, there's a good outcome. There could be a bad outcome, but that had to happen because you might have done something bad in that other life, and like karma, it's coming back around, or you have to serve something, or there's a karmic debt, or a karmic tie, or an unfinished business. Okay. Well, also in your 12th house is your darkest and your lightest. So your 12th house hides all your darkest, like deep traumatic fears, anxieties, like all the dark, hidden, unknown, subconscious issues are there in your 12th house. But then on the other side, it also holds your creativity, your authentic self. Where you blossom, like where your poetry comes out, or your writing, or like your self-expression. So it holds both of those, and you gotta dig in there and decipher yourself. Okay, well, my 1st house and my 12th house go together like that because I'm a Scorpio rising. That's my 1st house. With the Scorpio rising in the 1st house, and then whatever planet, Pluto, I think it's Pluto and Neptune, they are here to tie up loose ends. it says that they, first of all, it says most of them have long dark hair and big noses, and that they have a look in their eye like they had to overcome death before they even lived, and that they're very assertive and very like strong, like ambitious. They mean business, and they're charming, and I mean business, but at the same time I'm kind of quirky. Like, I'll do shit ass backwards, but it'll be done, and it'll be done right, and I'm gonna be okay. Just because you don't agree with it, just because it's not like conventional, just because it's unconventional, doesn't mean it's the wrong way. But I do things kind of ass backwards. So besides being a Scorpio, like being assertive, like Uranus is in that third house. But what I'm getting to is Scorpios are here. Like if Scorpio's in your first house, and then like the Libra and Mars is in my 12th house, it says usually a Scorpio rising with Libra in the 12th house, you are here to tie up loose ends. Like, you have a mission. Like, you're on to something. You mean business, and I think that completely resonates with my 12th house, and the fact that you guys don't know the full story, and I'll tell you one day, because I'm going to tell you all my stories. But I'm in a situation where there is a past life thing going on, and it showed up in my natal chart. Like, before I even learned about being a number 9 in numerology, reincarnation and past life stuff started coming up. And then I learned about that, and then I learned about this, and then this happened, and then that happened. And then here it is again, just popped up in front of my face like 2 weeks ago. And it was like, whoa, like, can it get any more intense? So what I'm getting to is that natal chart will help you if there's questions that has to do with certain things, and it don't have to be past lives. I mean, it can be like of sibling problems or parent problems, or like why you're struggling in your area in business or anything. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I've got to go before this phone does whatever it did again. But again, my name's Kelsey. We're here at One Soul Expression. You can find me on Instagram, ones_soul_expression. That is actually my personal Insta, but I've like made it public because I like to share kind of inspirational things. And on there is my blog, where I blog some things about a couple things. So anyway, like, share, subscribe, and I'm going to try to get back to you guys at least once or twice a week. So have a blessed day.